A few years ago, paleontologists unearthed a T-Rex skull riddled with bite marks. The spacing between the wounds led to a chilling realization. Another T-Rex had chewed on this individual's face while it was still alive, and somehow the victim survived. This wasn't an isolated incident. The fossil record is full of evidence of dinosaurs acting in ways we'd call psychopathic today: cannibalism, extreme aggression, and systematic brutality. I dug into the research, and the picture that emerges of Tyrannosaur society is truly messed up. T-Rex, face biting, and family meals. Everyone thinks they know the T-Rex, but the reality is far more gruesome. Take the famous T-Rex skull, Stan. Paleontologists noticed strange, deep puncture wounds on the back of the head. When they measured them, the fit was perfect. T-Rex teeth. This wasn't a quick kill. The bone had healed around the wounds. Stan had to endure a horrific face-biting session and walk around with the scars for the rest of his life. But Stan isn't unique. Researchers have cataloged 324 different face-bite wounds across various T-Rex. A few years ago, paleontologists unearthed a T-Rex skull riddled with bite marks. The spacing between the wounds led to a chilling realization. Another T-Rex had chewed on this individual's face while it was still alive, and somehow the victim survived. This wasn't an isolated incident. The fossil record is full of evidence of dinosaurs acting in ways we'd call psychopathic today: cannibalism, extreme aggression, and systematic brutality. I dug into the research, and the picture that emerges of Tyrannosaur society is truly messed up. T-Rex, face biting, and family meals. Everyone thinks they know the T-Rex, but the reality is far more gruesome. Take the famous T-Rex skull, Stan. Paleontologists noticed strange, deep puncture wounds on the back of the head. When they measured them, the fit was perfect. T-Rex teeth. This wasn't a quick kill. The bone had healed around the wounds. Stan had to endure a horrific face-biting session and walk around with the scars for the rest of his life. But Stan isn't unique. Researchers have cataloged 324 different face-bite wounds across various T-Rex specimens. That's not random. That is a definitive pattern. These puncture wounds came from teeth designed to crush bone, the kind of bite that could punch through a car door. T-Rexes were regularly savaging each other's faces. And then there's the cannibalism. They found T-Rex bones with other T-Rex teeth marks on them. These aren't fighting marks, they're feeding marks, the kind you get when a scavenger is slowly stripping meat off bones. Even the toe bones had bite marks, meaning after the big chunks were gone, they were still there picking at the scraps. Yes, your favorite movie dinosaur was quite possibly eating its own family members. The king of cannibals, Majungasaurus. T-Rex face-biting looks friendly compared to prehistoric Madagascar. This island was home to a dinosaur called Majungasaurus, which holds a special, grim record. It was the first dinosaur where scientists could definitively prove cannibalism. The evidence is ironclad. Majungasaurus bones were found with bite marks. Comparing the spacing and serration patterns under a microscope, scientists found only one match: other Majungasaurus teeth. They found multiple specimens with the same evidence, confirming this was normal behavior. Madagascar was a harsh, dry desert environment. When resources are scarce, even your own species is on the menu. As one researcher noted, finding dinosaur cannibalism wasn't shocking. It happens in the modern world. But there's something deeply unsettling about fossil proof of a creature methodically stripping flesh off the bones of its own kind. The drought of desperation.
Allosaurus at Mott Quarry. Individual cannibals are disturbing, but what happens to a species during a catastrophic drought? In Colorado's Mott Quarry, paleontologists found a massive dinosaur graveyard from 150 million years ago. Out of 2,368 bones, one-third had been chewed on by other dinosaurs, and 17% of those marks came from other meat-eaters, including Allosaurus, gnawing on Allosaurus bones. When you find marks on a meaty leg bone, that makes sense. But they were finding marks on toe bones and spine pieces, bones with almost no meat. This wasn't hunting, this was desperation. The quarry represents a devastating drought. Big predators, when starving, will stop being picky. The largest bite mark found could only have been made by a massive Allosaurus. During this crisis, Allosaurus likely practiced both scavenging and cannibalism. They would literally eat anything that stopped moving, including their own kind. The life of bullying, a death of dining. Discretion. The fossil record tells one of the most depressing dinosaur stories. With a Discretion specimen, this individual was kicked around its whole life and then eaten after it died. The skull is covered with healed bite wounds from other Discretion teeth, puncture holes, gouges, and missing chunks of bone. The healing proves this poor creature survived multiple brutal face-biting sessions. But the story gets worse. After it finally died, a different Discretion found the body and had lunch. The skull has a second set of bite marks, post-mortem feeding marks, made by a scavenger methodically stripping meat. Even both ends of some bones were bit, meaning the scavenger was extremely thorough. This single fossil shows a dinosaur that experienced both fighting and cannibalism. It was bullied by its own species its entire life and then became their dinner when it finally succumbed. The sheer brutality of Tyrannosaur society is laid bare. Spend your life getting your face chewed on, and when you die, your neighbors show up to your funeral with napkins tucked under their necks. The organized killers, pack hunting and ambush. The smart gang, Mapusaurus. Imagine being jumped by 7 giant predators, each the size of a city bus. That's what happened in Argentina, where 7 Mapusaurus, adults, teenagers, and juveniles, were found dead in the same spot. They clearly lived and hunted together. A single Mapusaurus couldn't take down the only prey big enough to feed their gang, Argentinosaurus, a sauropod as massive as 12 elephants. But 7 working together? That's a different story. They likely coordinated the attack, going for legs, neck, and sides. The Mapusaurus died in the process, trampled or stuck in mud while feeding, but they died together because they hunted together. They had to coordinate and communicate to take down prey 10 times their size. These weren't just mindless killing machines. They were organized, intelligent killing machines. The aquatic nightmare, Spinosaurus. Most people think Spinosaurus just ate fish. They were wrong. Paleontologists found a pterosaur neck bone with a Spinosaurus tooth physically embedded in it. This 15-meter-long semi-aquatic dinosaur violently attacked a flying reptile with a 6-foot wingspan, biting down hard enough to lose a tooth. Spinosaurus wasn't content to wait for fish. It was an ambush predator, a crocodile scaled up to absurd, terrifying proportions. It would float motionless, looking like a log. Then suddenly, 15 meters of prehistoric nightmare would explode out of the water to grab anything that came within range, including land animals that strayed too close to the river's edge. The scariest part? You'd get almost no warning. The dumbest death, Utah raptor. Some pack hunters made a fatal mistake. In Utah, a 9-ton block of sandstone contains the remains of at least 6 Utah raptor skeletons, a whole family of giant raptors, mixed in with the remains of their prey. What likely happened? A large herbivore got stuck in prehistoric quicksand. One Utah raptor went in for the easy meal and got stuck. Instead of thinking things through, the rest of the pack apparently decided the best plan was to jump into the depth trap one by one until they all slowly sunk. The evidence suggests some raptors were stepping on each other as they sunk. These were supposed to be smart predators, yet they succumbed to basic physics and mud, possibly killing their own family members in a desperate attempt to climb out. The messy co-op. Deinonychus. Deinonychus basically invented the pack raptor concept, and we know they hunted in groups because they often died next to their food. Multiple sites show Deinonychus remains scattered around the skeleton of Dinosaurus, a massive plant eater. A single raptor was no match for this herbivore, which could kick hard enough to shatter ribs.